Okay, so hello everybody. My name's Lindsay Masfelix and I'm the founding director of Vibrant Coaching. I'm joined here by my amazing, wonderful client, Sarah, who has very, very kindly agreed that she would share her pain recovery story with everybody. So just to explain, I'm a chronic pain recovery coach and a SERPA practitioner. I have my own story of 10 years of lower back pain with diagnoses such as bulging discs, disc degeneration, scoliosis, sacroiliac joint dysfunction, you name it. I was given all sorts of different scary things. But using the mind-body approach, using pain reprocessing therapy, I was enabled to essentially overcome my own back pain story. So I now help other people. And here is Sarah. So Sarah, would you
Hello.
mind just very quickly maybe introducing yourself, but just to let everybody know, or just to share with us, what was your initial diagnosis, and kind of what was the story with you before we found each other and before you came to this work?
So I'm 35 years of age, and I've been suffering from back pain maybe since I was about 19. And when I was around 28, I got, I had really, really bad back pain, severe, for a full year. And I eventually went to a doctor and a spine specialist, and he diagnosed me there and then with degenerative disc disease, and had told me that I had a severe bulging disc and that they were going to have to operate on it. So basically booked me in for like 4 weeks time for an operation, had the operation, went successful. I thought it went successful. And then I think maybe then for about 5 years, I was basically pain free. And then up until last December, everything went backward again. And I just had severe sciatica and back pain again from doing really nothing. Like, I was getting stronger, my body was strong, and it just came on all of a sudden and just got worse and worse from then. And then, I was down the rabbit hole again of trying to research what I could do. Like, I spent hours on TikTok, on the internet, trying to find answers, and just so many different answers about back pain. And it kind of made it worse for me because I felt like there was no true answer out there.
Yeah.
And then I came across your page, and I just felt the need to reach out to you. And, I was willing to try anything at that stage, to be honest.
Yeah,
So,
absolutely.
yeah.
And I remember you saying, Sarah, and first of all, I so associate with your story. It's so maddening. I think when you've got this terrible pain, and also like the emotional response to the diagnoses that we're given, and the fact that we're told, I mean, in your case, were you told to manage this pain that you were living with? I mean, obviously there was surgery, but like, what did they tell you? Did you go back to the medical community when you got that sort of second flare up after the initial sort of time with that pain?
Well, I didn't actually go back to medical people straight away, because when I had my surgery the first time, after I found out about John Sarno, Dr.
Yes.
Sarno, and
Yeah.
I read his book. And
Yeah.
that was about 2 months after my surgery. And then I learned all about, neuropathic pain, and, it's coming from your mind. And I started to, realize, maybe it was more so that because I was young, I was healthy, there was no reason for me to suffer from such back pain and have surgeries and have degenerated disc disease. And then I went through his book and started practicing a little bit for a while, and then obviously stopped. So when it came back this time, I didn't straight away think I want to go back to a doctor, because I've done a lot of research, and I think the more invasiveness they go to, like into your back and surgeries, it just weakens your back for when you're older. But I also was researching myself, and when I Googled degenerated disc disease, it basically told me like I was going to have it forever. It was just going to get worse. There's nothing you can do. You're going to eventually maybe need a spinal infusion, and that then kind of panicked me a wee bit then again. So I was just stressed out in my mind the whole time about it.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's what happens. And I know you now know this, but for anyone who's watching and they don't understand, what is this? What are they talking about? Neuroplastic pain, and this mind-body connection. So for anyone who's completely new to this, I'm just going to really briefly explain what we're talking about. And essentially, it's the very latest in pain science. Dr. John Sarno, as you just
Yeah.
mentioned, he wrote some books specifically on this, started working on this, I believe, in the 1980s, so quite some time ago. And he was a real pioneer. He got a lot of flack. He got a lot of people in the medical community who were against what he was saying. They just couldn't believe that, for it's essentially that stressors or emotional reactions, in our lives could create such physical sensations that could create such debilitating pain. So that's where he was coming. So, neuroplastic pain is literally that. It's the brain, neuro, and then plastic is that it can change. And I think probably with both of us at some point with our back pain, it just completely changed. Maybe one day it was on the left side, maybe it went down your leg, maybe then it was a central spasm type feeling, or like my back was so tight, it was like a block of cement. And then I got stuff in my shoulder, and I got stuff, ringing ears and rashes, and it's very common for this pain to start to move around. But we're not told, the mainstream doesn't teach us that all pain is created in the brain, and that there is a stress response in the brain that's obviously connected to the nervous system, that when we are frightened or fearful in particular, and particularly when we've had such a scary diagnosis, we're now very frightened of being physically damaged. And in our cases, it's for life. We've been told it's for life. Well, there's going to be just a fear response, an emotional response just to a diagnosis alone. But we're already living in fear because we fear our bodies, we fear movement. So, I just thought it was important to explain to people what we're talking about. So the good news with this neuroplastic pain, as Sarah is going to explain, is that actually, the beliefs that we hold about our body, the fears and the emotional melting pot that's driving this fear response, that's ramping up our nervous system to make it hypervigilant, and we're kind of in this huge protective mode. This can all be reversed. These messages can be reversed. So there's little neural pathways which are creating that pain. And oh my God, as Sarah will say, it's terrible pain. It's real pain. You're not making it up. It's not all in your mind. But it can be reversed. So I was just going to ask you, life, you've spoken a little bit about life before, but just like in terms of physically, the things you could and couldn't do, like how did it impact your life before you started working on this journey?
Probably massively. Like, before my pain, I was very, very active. Like, I was in the gym maybe 4 times a week. I was running. I'm a hairdresser, so I'm on my feet all day.
Yeah.
And, it affected nearly everything in my life. Standing up for maybe an hour, like, I would start getting pain. So, I was lucky enough at the time that I got the pain, and I stopped working because I moved back to Ireland. But I mean, being active all the time and not being able to do anything was mentally draining on me. Like, it was really bad for my mental health. And coming from Australia, where everyone's fit and active over there, and coming back to Ireland then and just not being able to do anything, and then the fear of not being able to work again, because even sitting down too for more than an hour started to give me really bad sciatica. So the only relief I got was lying down on the bed. And, obviously I can't be doing that. I'm 35 years of age. I have so much plans for my future, and, goals and stuff.
Yeah.
And everything just came tumbling down again. I just had, it makes you depressed, the chronic pain, and scared, and all sorts of feelings.
Yes, yeah, exactly. So some of the
Yeah.
key drivers for keeping us in chronic pain, if we're looking at root causes, emotional drivers, or the stresses in our life, are the things that you've just described, feeling trapped, feeling hopeless, feeling isolated. And to be honest with you, your whole livelihood was, affected. You couldn't work. And if we're going to talk about perceived threats, and the brain is obviously dishing out this protective response to your brain, like not having a livelihood, not having an income, this is life or death. When we talk about the fight or flight, we talk about how our body is activated to run away from our fears, our deepest rooted fears. well, then this all makes sense, doesn't it? So,
Yeah.
yeah. So when we started working together, I know that we touched upon numerous different elements towards sort of healing and recovery. But for anyone who's thinking about using this potentially, or anyone who's actually in the journey and might need some encouragement, from your perspective, and you don't have to, obviously, we're sharing this with the outside universe, so we don't have to talk about anything confidential, but what elements of it did you find helped you the most? Like, we're all very different, our journeys are very different, but when was it you kind of started to think, I think this might be working? Like, what I'm doing is starting to take effect.
I think definitely, like, the mindfulness you bring into it, and
Yeah.
the calming down of your mind and your negative thoughts about the future and about the pain. And
Yeah.
you teach us to treat the pain as a friend nearly, and to
Yeah.
know it's there, but
Yeah.
um work with it. And I think just the time of my life it was happening, there was also a lot of personal issues happening.
Yeah.
So I needed it for my pain, but also, just day to day life, in
Yeah.
general, and calming down the stress that I was going through. And,
Yeah.
that kind of stuff I'll bring with me forever. Everyone needs to do mindfulness, even they should be teaching it in schools for
Yeah.
young kids. Like,
Yeah.
it's a really, really good tool to use,
Yeah.
especially for the pain management.
Yeah.
And then obviously, I felt, as the weeks went on, I was getting a little bit more calmer with my thoughts, and not getting into the panic mode with the pain when it
Yeah.
flared up, basically, apart
Yeah.
from that one time in the middle.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
actually, I was going to ask
Yeah.
you deliberately to share that. So just to explain, and then Sarah's going to tell everybody, it's very rare, particularly when we've been in pain for a long time, that everything's going to be totally smooth running and that we're suddenly going to, just go, well, hey, I'm pain free. And, we're high-fiving everyone. It's not linear. We have setbacks, things happen. We're dealing with retraining a brain that's got these very set habits and has been used to behaving in certain ways and reacting to things in certain ways. So actually, I wanted you to tell everyone about your setback, because I actually think that setback, and I think you agree with me, was probably one of the most powerful parts, or sort of turning point, really, for you. So why don't you tell me I remember what happened, because I remember you telling me about it and we worked through it
Yeah.
together, but why don't you say in your own words what happened?
Well, I think it was about halfway through our
Yeah.
program. We were halfway there, and I went to the gym 2 days in a row, but very gentle exercise. And all of a sudden that evening, the pain just shot me like a ton of bricks. It just came down on me, and it was probably the worst pain that I had experienced throughout the whole 15 years of my back pain. Even before the last time I had the surgery, I couldn't sleep. I didn't sleep for 2 nights. And I just, I think when you're in so much pain, you'll do anything then at that moment. So I made my first appointment to the doctors, which I hadn't gone to the doctors about it ever, like, since I
Yeah.
started getting the pain this time, because I didn't want to go to the doctors.
Yeah.
But I was in so much pain. I needed sleep. I was exhausted. And obviously then he gave me tablets. But when I was with the doctor there and then, I said I want an MRI scan. I was sure in that moment then that this isn't working. I want a scan. Like, I need the surgery again. Like, in my head, I just thought, I have to have the surgery again. This is not going to get better. Like, it never got better last time until I had the surgery. It's not going to get better again. So, funny enough, the doctor wrote it down, but he never actually booked my appointment, because I never got the referral. But I also believe that was faith not giving me the
Yeah.
referral. So I think we done another session, and I told you how bad I was, and you just took me back again to repeat, mindfulness,
Yeah.
journaling,
Yeah.
gratitude. And
Yeah.
slowly I came out of that pain, and I have never been so shocked in my life, because it's never gone away. The sciatica was 10 out of 10 for me that time,
Yeah.
and it just slowly disappeared again. And I didn't even do anything, like, but it was more my brain. Like, I didn't do any stretching, I didn't do any exercise, I was literally in bed for a week.
Yeah.
I was on tramadol and everything, and then all of a sudden it just started to go away, because I was still doing my 10 minutes every morning of mindfulness,
Yeah.
and believing. And
Yeah.
even though I did take a step back thinking this isn't going to work for me, but
Yeah.
after
Yeah.
that, that's when I was sold. That's when I was like, this actually is working, because it never has happened to me like that before,
Yeah.
and I really, really then, put in 100% to it, I think, after that
Yeah.
setback.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And I think what I say to clients is it's a knowing. It's we're not here to convince anybody that this is for them. It's an
Mm.
option, and that's why we're talking about it. This is an option. But I remember that conversation, and I remember taking you through it very, very calmly. I remember saying the words that I've said to many, many clients, because you're not alone. We all have setbacks, me included,
Yeah.
and it it's a knowing, like once you start to turn the corner, it's almost as if that setback was deliberately there for us to really go, wow, this absolutely works. Because
Yeah.
before, we would have been bedridden for weeks, we would have
Yeah.
been knocked off of our feet for weeks, we would have
Yeah.
lost so much confidence in just simple things like, and forgive me everyone, but like getting on and off of the loo, like even just putting your trousers on, your
Yeah.
knickers on, like anything
Yeah.
like that. When you've had severe chronic back pain, even just putting your head like this can be just something to set you off. But you went through that. You were so brave. You had so much conviction, and you just stuck to it. And and I always said to you, I admire your bravery there. It was just and I agree with you. I think that was the moment that actually quite quickly after that
Yeah.
you started to make quite a lot of progress, didn't you?
Yeah.
So why don't you just tell us kind of where you're at now, so what you're able to do now? So you had your setback, you worked your way through it. Just a few words about what you've been doing since, and what's different to before.
So basically, what I've been doing since is I've been able to stand for more than 1 hour without getting pain. I've been standing all day. I've been able to return to a hairdressing
Yeah.
without having any pain or sciatica.
Yeah.
Um, I've been able to sit down for more than 1 hour without any pain. I can sit as long as I need to again.
Yeah.
Um, and I have been able to return to the gym. I've been doing it slowly, but not because I know it's going to trigger me again, but just because I've been out of it for a long time. I need to
Yeah.
obviously baby steps again back into
Yeah.
it. So I go to Pilates now once a week, and you know, um, my goal, obviously, I told you the last time, is I'd love to do a half marathon next year. Like,
Yes.
so that's my dream at the minute. So that's what I'm going to focus on. And you know, and it's, and I did tell myself the last time, if I get out of this pain again, like I 100% will do that half marathon. Like I'm going to run it, and I'm going to do it my best at it.
Yeah.
And yeah, I've been
Yeah.
able to basically do everything, 90% of things that I was doing before,
Yeah,
you know.
amazing. Yeah, amazing.
Yeah.
And that's a testament to you and to the work that you've put in. And I have also said to Sarah, please send me the
Yeah.
finish line photograph when you do the marathon, because it's just such a joyful thing. And I think even that's worth mentioning, is that a lot of the work that we do together is about looking at self-induced pressure, pressurizing ourselves and pushing
Mm.
ourselves too hard. And I think having a goal to do a marathon is fantastic. And I think we would have spoken about this, because I know what I'm like. I'm annoying.
Yeah.
Is that when you do it, do it with just so much love and
Yeah.
enjoyment and joy, that I'm just enjoying this body. It's just so strong. Look what I can do, but not the pressure that, I'm going to get, first place,
Oh
or I'm
yeah.
going to get I'm going to get this, time this time, because we have personality traits, and this is
Yeah.
part of the work that we look at, certain personality traits, and how that self-induced pressure, or that inner critic, is also perceived by the nervous system and the brain as a threat. So the kinder and more compassionate we become with ourselves, the more joyful life becomes, because hey, we're doing stuff for the pure joy of it, and it gives us that vibrancy, literally. So I really look forward to obviously getting that photo, and I know that you're going to do it, and I'm
Yeah.
just so absolutely happy. So one last thing just
Hmm.
to ask you is that, if there was one piece of advice that you could give to somebody who's either considering this, or is at the beginning of this, or is feeling stuck in this process, because it's human, it's normal,
Mm.
what might you say to them? What might you say?
Well, I tell them first of all to have patience, and just, just don't, because a lot, especially me, I think I always think I need results straight away, and if something doesn't come straight away, it's not working.
Yeah.
And I've learned to, you know, slow down, take a step back and just
Yeah.
have patience.
Yeah.
And then the other thing is definitely to believe. You have to train yourself to believe that it's going to work, because
Yeah.
if you're thinking negative about it, it's not going to work. It's,
Yeah.
you know, it will fail, and to just trust the process. And if you do have a setback now, only because I've had that massive setback, is,
Yeah.
you know, don't worry, you're going to go back a bit, you're going to experience pain through it again, like, and you
Yeah.
might think, oh my god, it's, you know, it's not working and it's just coming back again, but it's not. You just have
Yeah.
to push through, keep
Yeah.
doing everything that you're advising them to do, and just
Yeah.
even if it takes you, some people, you said it might take a bit longer,
Yeah.
but yeah, just keep
Yeah.
doing it and
Yeah.
believe that it's going to get better. And don't listen to all the doctors that are going to tell you it's not going to ever get better, because it's
Yeah.
not true.
Yeah, because we are living proof, and there's
Yeah,
you and my other amazing clients and other people that I know, my colleagues at Serpa. You know, so
yeah,
many of us have overcome such a variety of such debilitating and life-changing pain. And that is fantastic advice. And
yeah,
I'm so grateful that you are sharing this with everybody. And I think it's worth noting that for Sarah, in terms of your timeline, we had 6 sessions, didn't we?
yeah,
Which probably took about 2, 3 months maybe of work.
yeah,
So just to give people an idea of what can be possible without pressurizing anybody else who's in their journey. You know, for me, actually, it probably took longer. It might have taken 5 or 6 months to get to the point where I suddenly thought, oh my God, I've just, you know, bent over and got a
yeah,
pan out of my cupboard and didn't second guess it. Or, you know, I'm literally feeling nothing. This body is neutral and it's just doing its thing. But yeah, I'm so thankful for you for sharing your story. You're an absolute inspiration. I so look forward to hearing about all of your exciting adventures.
thank you,
And I wish you nothing but the best, Sarah. Literally
thank
nothing
you
but the
so much,
best. You
thank
are
you,
so, so welcome. Have a great day.
thank you, you too.
Thanks, Sarah. Speak soon. Bye.
Speak soon, bye bye.